Tumbleton is about to become a graveyard, and this trailer just confirmed it. A hidden dragon rider is one step away from being exposed. A war hero's wife is being turned into a hostage, and Rhaenyra is being pushed toward a decision that could either save her crown or destroy her reputation forever. This is the Episode 6 trailer for House of the Dragon Season 3, and buried inside it are Easter eggs pulled straight from the pages of Fire and Blood that most people are going to miss completely. Let's break down every single one. The trailer opens inside the Eyrie, and right away something feels off. Rhaena Targaryen has been hiding here since the Battle of the Gullet, and she is not alone. Her dragon sheep stealer is somewhere close by, tucked into the mountains where nobody is supposed to be looking. This is not a small secret. This is the kind of secret that gets people killed. Jane Arryn made the choice to shelter Rhaena, and that single decision has turned the Vale into one of the most dangerous places in the entire war, whether the people living there realize it or not. Here is why this matters so much. Aemond and Vhagar are moving north toward Harrenhal, and that route puts them dangerously close to the Vale. If Aemond ever suspects a dragon is hiding inside those mountains, Jane has no real way to stop him. She would be defending her home against the single most dangerous rider and dragon left alive in Westeros, and she would be doing it completely alone. That is the entire reason Rhaena has been kept out of sight. One sighting, one loose word from the wrong person, and Vhagar could turn toward the Eyrie before anyone has time to prepare. But Aemond is not the only threat circling this secret. Rhaenyra herself has been quietly searching for the rider of Sheepstealer this entire time, and she does not know it is Rhaena. If that truth comes out, the queen she has sworn her life to suddenly becomes the person she has the most to fear. That is the kind of betrayal that does not get forgiven easily, especially during a war where trust is already running out. The trailer shows guards placing a bag over Rhaena's head, hiding hair that used to be silver and has now turned gray from grief and stress. That single detail tells you everything about what this year has done to her. She is not the same person she was before the war started, and the show is making sure you notice it. Now here is where the book knowledge becomes important. In Fire and Blood, Rhaena's storyline in the Vale carries real weight because it eventually puts her in the exact position to make a choice that shapes the rest of the war. The show has been building toward that same moment, quietly, in the background, while everyone's attention stays locked on King's Landing and Tumbleton. If Vhagar gets close enough to the Vale, or if word ever reaches Rhaenyra about what Jane has been hiding, that quiet corner of the story could explode into one of the biggest turning points of the entire season. Adding even more tension to this thread, Adam of Hull and his sister Baela are also somewhere close by. If the two sisters end up in the same castle at the same time, that reunion alone could change the direction of the war, for better or for worse. Baela has spent this entire season carrying grief and anger that Rhaena has not had to face the same way, and putting them face to face right now, in the middle of all this secrecy and danger, is not something the show would do without a reason. So ask yourself this. With Vhagar closing in from one direction and Rhaenyra's search closing in from the other, how much longer can Rhaena actually stay hidden? And what happens the moment that secret finally gets out? From the Vale, the trailer cuts to something far darker, and this is where the real bloodshed of this episode starts to show. Larys Strong, Tywin Lannister, and Aegon are shown burying a body, and this is not just any death. The man they are burying is the same soldier who caught them talking in private and discovered Aegon's crown, a secret that was never supposed to leave that room. Aegon made sure of that himself, driving a blade into the man's stomach so the truth would die with him. How they managed to smuggle a body out of a guarded stronghold without anyone noticing is still unclear, but that is not even the real story here. The real story is what happens now that Tywin is back in the picture and standing directly in Larys's way. For most of this season, Larys has had one plan, and only one plan. Get Aegon out of Westeros, keep him hidden somewhere safe until the war burns itself out, and then bring him back as the hero who rebuilds everything from the ashes. Tywin wants nothing to do with that plan. He wants Aegon back at Casterly Rock, training, preparing, and getting ready to actually fight for his throne instead of running from it. Both men are accusing each other of using Aegon for their own gain, and here is the uncomfortable truth. Both of them are right. Whoever wins this argument gets the ear of a future king, and with that comes titles, protection, and real power once this war ends. But Aegon has spent this entire story wanting to prove himself, wanting to fight, wanting blood. That tells you exactly which direction he is leaning, and it is not the direction Larys needs him to go. Larys does not lose arguments gracefully, and he has already shown exactly what he is capable of when someone stands in his way. He had his own father and brother murdered back in Season 1, without so much as blinking. If Tyland suddenly has an unfortunate accident before this season ends, do not act surprised. Book readers already know how dangerous Larys becomes when his plans start slipping out of his control, and this argument with Tyland might be the exact moment that control starts to break. The trailer then shifts to Tumbleton, where Ormond Hightower, Daeron Targaryen, and Hobart Hightower are all gathering together. Hobart has abandoned Criston Cole's forces after realizing Cole was leading his men into a suicide mission with no real plan to survive it. Instead of dying for nothing, Hobart rides to join Ormond instead, and Ormond is playing a far smarter game than most people are giving him credit for. His strategy does not rely on brute force alone. He has men working from inside King's Landing itself, and they are causing absolute chaos. City Watch members are being killed one by one, including their own commander. The City Watch exists to keep peace in the capital, and without them, that peace is already starting to fall apart. Making things worse, these men have not been paid, which means desertions are beginning on top of the killings. Viewer guards means more crime, more fear, and more anger pointed directly at Rhaenyra. The small folk will start whispering that things were better under the Greens, that a queen who cannot even protect her own capital has no business ruling it. Ormond still has an army of Rivermen and Northmen to worry about, but if King's Landing collapses into riots from the inside, that distraction alone could be exactly the advantage the Greens need to turn this entire war around. The next shot shows Daemon Targaryen dressed as a City Watch member, walking straight into danger on purpose. Someone has been hunting gold cloaks in the capital, and Daemon wants to know exactly who before more of them die. His plan is simple on paper and terrifying in practice. Dress like a target, wait to get attacked, overpower whoever comes for him, and force the truth out of them. That sounds reasonable until you remember what this attacker has already done. Whoever is behind these killings took down a group of trained City Watch members, including their commander, without breaking a sweat. This is not some random thug carrying a grudge. This is someone dangerous, patient, and skilled. Daemon is good with a blade. Everyone knows that. But walking straight into a trap built by someone this capable is a massive risk, even for him. There is one theory worth mentioning here, even though it probably falls apart under closer thought. Could this attacker be a faceless man Ormond hired? The skill level on display would certainly fit. But if Ormond really had a faceless man working for him, the smarter move would be sending that assassin straight after Rhaenyra herself, not wasting a weapon like that on random City Watch members in the street. So the theory does not fully hold up, but it is worth throwing out there simply because of how clean and brutal these kills have been. A more likely explanation, and one that lines up closely with how Ormond has operated the entire season, is that he does not need Rhaenyra dead at all. His plan works even better if she stays alive and simply looks incompetent in front of her own people. If the small folk turn against her on their own and start begging for Daeron instead, that is a cleaner victory than any assassination could ever deliver. A queen removed by her own people looks far worse in the eyes of history than one who gets murdered, and Ormond seems smart enough to understand exactly why that difference matters. So with gold cloaks dying in the streets, King's Landing turning against its own queen, and Daemon about to walk straight into the hands of whoever is responsible, how long can Rhaenyra hold onto a city that is already starting to slip through her fingers? From the chaos in the streets, the trailer jumps straight to Rhaenyra, and she says one line that hits harder than anything else in this entire trailer. She cannot let this go unanswered. This is almost certainly about Alicent and Helaena, who slipped away last episode through the tunnels beneath Maegor's holdfast. Those tunnels were supposed to be sealed off completely, yet somehow both women found a way out anyway. Helaena is shown sitting quietly by a fire afterward, which all but confirms the escape actually worked. But Rhaenyra is not going to let this slide without consequences. Whatever punishment she is planning, it is coming, and it is not going to be gentle. For book readers, this moment carries extra weight, because the tension between Rhaenyra and Alicent has always been personal, not just political, and the show keeps proving it has not forgotten that. Right after that, the trailer moves into a small council meeting, and this is where the real weight of the entire episode starts to show. Daemon is pushing hard for Rhaenyra to burn Tumbleton to the ground using their dragons, wiping out Ormond and his entire force in a single strike. His argument is not unreasonable. Every day they wait, more chaos spreads through King's Landing, more gold cloaks die in the streets, and more people start whispering that the Greens ran things better. The moment Ormond and Daeron are dead, the City Watch killings stop completely, because there is no one left paying for them to continue. But burning Tumbleton is not a clean solution either. Ormond is using the actual people of that town as a human shield against dragonfire, which means burning it means killing innocent families along with the soldiers hiding among them. Rhaenyra understands exactly what happens to her reputation if she goes through with it. She becomes the next Maegor the Cruel in the eyes of the realm, a queen willing to burn her own people alive just to win a war. But if she refuses to act, more City Watch members die, more riots break out, and more of the blame lands squarely on her shoulders. There is no version of this decision that comes without a cost. Aelin speaks up in this meeting and makes the case for patience, reminding everyone that the army of Rivermen and Northmen is already marching toward Tumbleton and will arrive soon enough without dragonfire being necessary. Daemon is not exactly known for his patience, but the final call belongs to Rhaenyra, and earlier trailers have already confirmed a siege is coming to Tumbleton. That strongly suggests she chooses to wait and trust Aelin's plan instead of burning the town outright, a decision that lines up closely with how this same moment plays out in Fire and Blood. The trailer then cuts to one of Criston Cole's men, and the shot widens to reveal an entire army charging in from every direction. What looked like a small skirmish in last week's trailer is actually something much bigger and far worse for Cole's side. The Rivermen and Northmen have set a trap, and Criston Cole has walked directly into the center of it. After everything Cole said last episode about wanting to die in battle, this might be exactly how that wish gets granted. There is no clean way out of a formation surrounded on all sides, and Cole does not seem like the type who would even try to run. The final shot of the trailer belongs to Hugh Hammer, watching over Tumbleton from a distance with his dragon Vermithor beside him. Rhaenyra sent him there specifically to make sure Ormond and his forces cannot slip away unnoticed. With a dragon at his side, Hugh should be about as safe as anyone can be in this entire war. But a group of men is approaching him, and that single detail changes everything. Hugh Hammer's wife is currently trapped inside Tumbleton, and if Ormond figures that out before anyone else does, he suddenly has the ultimate bargaining chip. A hostage like that could force Hugh into doing whatever Ormond needs, dragon or no dragon. Right now, Ormond only has one dragon on his side, Tessarion, and it is far smaller and weaker than the dragons Rhaenyra commands. If Ormond manages to turn Hugh against the Blacks somehow, that single move could hand him exactly the firepower he has been missing this entire war. Put all of these pieces together, and Episode 6 is shaping up to be the moment this entire war stops being a slow build-up and turns into something impossible to undo. Every thread in this trailer points toward Tumbleton, and every character connected to that town is walking into a situation they cannot fully control. Ormond built his strategy on patience and manipulation, spreading chaos through King's Landing while keeping his real army hidden and protected. But patience only works until someone forces your hand. And with Alan convincing Rhaenyra to wait for the Rivermen and Northmen, that army has now become the ticking clock this entire episode is built around. The moment they arrive, Ormond loses the safety of hiding behind civilians, and Daeron loses the leverage that has protected him this whole time. That is exactly why the trap being laid for Criston Cole matters so much. If Cole's forces are wiped out before reinforcements even reach Tumbleton, that removes one of the last experienced commanders the Greens have left standing, and it happens before the real fight even begins. And then there is Hugh Hammer, sitting outside Tumbleton with one of the largest dragons in the entire war standing beside him. On paper, nothing should be able to touch him, but the moment his wife becomes a bargaining chip, his entire position turns fragile, in a way that fire and scales cannot fix. Losing Hugh would not just weaken Rhaenyra's army, it would hand Ormond a second dragon overnight, doubling his firepower in a single move. That single possibility might be the most dangerous outcome hiding inside this entire trailer. So with dragons, hostages, betrayals, and armies all colliding at once inside the walls of one small town, the real question is this: When episode 6 finally airs, who actually walks out of Tumbleton alive, and who ends up becoming the reason this entire war changes forever?